All right, we are looking at a little bit more adding rational expressions. These times they're ones that we need to factor, okay? Adding and subtracting, actually. So, when you're looking at this, what you want to do is you want to factor anything that you can first before you kind of determine common denominators, okay? So, for instance, this 4w minus 16 can be factored as 4 times w minus 4. I'm going to rewrite that like that. Easier to figure out common denominators otherwise. And over here, the 2w minus 8, I can pull a 2 out of there, and then that would factor to 2 times w minus 4. Okay, so here's where I'm at right here. You can see if you look at your denominators, each denominator has a w minus 4 in it, but this one has a 4, and this one has a 2. So in order to get common denominators, I need the common denominator between the 4 and the 2 part obviously is 4. So I'm going to need to multiply this fraction by 2 and this fraction by 2. Okay, when I do that then, this is what I'm left with. I'm left with w plus 12 over 4 times w minus 4, minus sign in between. You have to be careful when you multiply this quantity by 2, you need to multiply the whole quantity by 2, so you need to distribute that 2 through. So then you have 2w plus 8 over, of course, 2 times 2 becomes 4, and then w minus 4. Okay. Then, super duper 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 common mistake, one of the top probably 5 math mistakes that we see as math teachers all the time. People go from here to writing this like this. Because they go, you have common denominators. My common denominator is 4 times w minus 4. And this is how people want to write this next. And here's what you've done wrong if you've done that. You have this subtraction sign in between. Okay? But you need to subtract this whole entire quantity. If you write it how I have it written, the only thing you're subtracting is the 2w. You're not subtracting the 8, okay? You need to subtract the whole quantity, so you need to take this negative and you need to distribute it through that parentheses, okay? When you distribute it through the parentheses, then you have negative 2w, and instead of plus 8, you should have minus 8. Okay, super common mistake. And now I want you to combine your like terms on the top. And so I can now combine a w and a negative 2w to make that be negative w. And of course 12 minus 8 is 4. And then you want to look for anything that can cancel. And on this one, I want you to kind of notice, pay attention to, this is negative w up here, and it's positive w down here. This is positive 4, this is negative 4. So they're opposites of each other. So what I can actually do is take this quantity right here, pull a negative 1 out of there. If I pull a negative 1 out of there, then this becomes positive w and negative 4. And on the bottom, I have 4 times w minus 4. And then what happens is these two will cancel each other out, and you simply get negative 1/4. Okay, now in your last video I forgot to kind of talk about this. Remember that you need to be aware that you can never have a denominator that has 0 in it. And so the quantity, or the number that would make this quantity right here that I circled be 0 would be 4. So pay attention to this. W can't be 4, and you should be telling me that along the side. All right, here's one for you to try. And I will you can try this, and I will sort of work it out. If you would rather not try it yourself, I will have it worked out. But here's how it goes. Obviously, you're going to factor the two denominators. You can pull a 5 out of the left side and a 3 out of the right side. They both have an x minus 5 in them. Common denominator is 15 times x minus 5. So you're going to multiply that left side by 3 and the right side by 5. So the left side by 3, the right side by 5. Just make sure that you distribute through the top. That's another common math mistake. Distribute this and distribute this. Okay. So make sure you do that. We typically don't distribute the denominators, just so you know. So now I'm here. Distribute. Okay, and again, I'm going to be careful about this. Make sure you take this negative with the 5, the negative 5, and that has to get distributed and distributed. That's why this becomes plus 40 right here instead of minus 40. Combine your like terms. So you're here. Again, you can pull a negative 2 out of the top. And then you are right here. And again, you should tell me that x can't be 5 in order for this to work, because that would make your denominator be 0, and you can't divide by 0. All right, moving on to something just a little bit different here. Now we have to, again, factor the denominators. And so when I factor this denominator, this will factor as y and y. 10 can either be 2 times 5 or 1 times 10. 2 and 5 will work. Plus 2 minus 5. Okay. Over here on the right, we have a y and a y. And then to get a 2 at the end, it could be 1 times 2. It has to be positive 2 and negative 1. And in order to get positive 2 and negative 1, it makes positive 1y in the middle. Okay. So that's how that goes. All right, now if we compare our denominators, you can see that each denominator has a y plus 2 in it. The left side has a y minus 5, but it doesn't have the y minus 1, okay? And so this side is missing a y minus 1, and so you're going to need to multiply top and bottom by that y minus 1. On the right side, it has a y minus 1 and a y plus 2, but it does not have the y minus 5. Okay, so now on the top, you need to FOIL this out. So you need to go y times y is y squared. Y times negative 5 is negative 5y. Negative 1 times y is negative y. And negative 1 times negative 5 is positive 5. Okay, plus sign in between. On the right then, y times y is y squared. And y times negative 5 is negative 5y. Okay, in both cases, your common denominator is y minus 1, y plus 2, and y minus 5. Again, y minus 1, y plus 2, and y minus 5. Okay, then we need to put this all together in one fraction. And so when I put this all together in one fraction, and most of you can probably skip this step, but I'll have y squared minus 5y minus y plus 5. And then when I have a plus sign, it doesn't really matter because you're distributing positive 1 through and positive 1 through, which is not going to change anything. So I can just rewrite this as y squared minus 5y. Again, all over your common denominator, which is this. Okay. And now, of course, you want to combine any like terms that you have. So on the top, you have y squared and y squared, which is 2y squared. You have negative 5y and negative y, which is negative 6y. Minus 5y more would be negative 11y. And then, of course, this plus 5 right here. Okay. And then in the denominator, you have y minus 1 and y minus 5 and y plus 2. Then on the top, you want to see if your new numerator, your new top part, factors. And this one does happen to factor. And I'm going to take this all and move it down so I have a little bit more room and it's not confusing you. All right, this top one does factor, and it factors like this. So 2y squared could be 2y and y. 5 is 1 and 5, or 5 and 1. It will factor like this. Because of the plus at the end, it either needs to be plus plus or minus minus. This one will be minus minus. So that's where I'm at. Okay? And by the way, in your denominator, if you look at these three pieces right here, y can't be 1 or it makes it 0. Y can't be 5. And y can't be negative 2. Okay? Then what's going to happen is these y minus 5s are going to cancel right here. And then you will have 2y minus 1 and I don't really need that in parentheses, over y minus 1 times y plus 2. And you can simply leave it like that. If you want to multiply the denominator out, you may, but it really is not necessary, and we actually usually don't do that. So this is where you will end up. All right, and here's one for you to try. So here we go. You're going to factor the bottoms out, and so the left factors is x minus 4 and x plus 3. The right is x plus 3 and x plus 2. You can see that the left side does not have the x plus 2 in it. It's missing that. And the right side does not have the x minus 4 in it. It's missing that. So that's what you'll need to multiply top and bottom by. So your common denominator would be x minus 4 times x plus 3 times x plus 2. Okay, make sure that you distribute these through. So distribute, and of course distribute. If you want to distribute the negative through right away, you can. You certainly may do that, but make sure you take into account that that negative has got to go through. If you don't want to take the negative into account, that's fine. Just be really careful about that. Okay, and so now we're here. And again, some of you, if you distributed that negative through right away, that's fine. If you didn't, you need to distribute it through right here. So make sure you distribute it here then if you didn't do it right away, so that you're there. And then combine your like terms, and then you want to see if the top factors or not. Did you think you could factor the top into x minus 4 and x plus 3? The last term is positive 12, so that doesn't work. If you have it factored like this, the negative and the positive make negative 12 instead of positive 12 like it needs to be right here. So the top doesn't actually factor on this one, and so your answer is going to stay just like you see it. But we should take into account that x can't be 4, x can't be negative 3, and x can't be negative 2. Okay? And that should do it.